All right, guys, welcome back to another UNC football preview show here at TarHeal247.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, before we dive into this one, we're going to be previewing Charlotte a little bit later on, talking about the vibe in the program this week, obviously coming off a very, very disappointing, to say the least, performance against TCU on Monday night. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and a few other things as well. But before we dive into it, I do want to do a quick promo on our site, because you still have some time to sign up for 70% off a 1-year VIP subscription on our website. You do have this does have to be your first time sign up. It ends on Thursday evening, so take advantage of it before it's too late. And guys, what you also get with it is you get a Paramount Plus subscription with Showtime included in that. I mean, AJ, I've said it on here many a times. It's kind of a no-brainer, no-duh statement, but it is an absolutely fantastic deal.
Well, and one of the things that I need to do a better job, I'm not a great marketer. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not a self-promoter. And when I was talking to someone at 24/7 Sports, like, make sure you tell your THI people that haven't signed up to come over. So I'm going to do that. You get 75% off, guys, plus what Jacob just said, all that stuff that I don't know as much about those things because I'm not an app streaming guy. I'll leave that up to my wife. And by the way, the other day, I wanted to find something on an app, and we go down there. There's like 600 of these things. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, there's so many of them.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like like this massive pegboard of things to click. So we finally found the one we were looking for, and we do have Paramount, which is interesting. Yeah. We pay for it. So I don't even get it for free, but you guys can. And all you THI guys, if you were with us at THI and you really like what we did, we are that on steroids at Tar Heel 24/7. I have more opportunity now to really dig deep in some of the stuff I do. If you saw my column from after the game Monday, I actually really had more time to put into it, and I have gotten a ton of positive feedback about the way I approached it and the way I hit the program hard but diplomatically, which is generally my mission. But my point is, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. You can sign up and you can read it right now, and that will be a small example of what our post-game coverage is going to look like moving forward. Yeah. So I thought I did good work at THI, but I was stretched very thin. Jacob was stretched very thin. Now we have so many more resources that I can zero in. And, the athletes love to say, keep the main thing the main thing. I can keep the main thing in my creative space and give better stuff to people than ever before. Plus, we have a lot of stuff. We have so many more resources. The network is phenomenal. And, man, the message board, it's funny. We were told the message board was insane, okay? And some of the insanity is left because they don't want to – that's fine. We knew there were going to be some changes and people come and go whenever there's site changes, but – we've retained almost everybody, and it is a fantastic board. You're still going to get lots of varying whiners and complainers, which I think is fine because fans are whiners and complainers.
Well, that's message boards for you, yeah.
Come be a part of the message board. I got to take something to drink here.
We're not
come take part in the message board. Take our THI message board community and help that blend in on this one. To me, it'd be the greatest place you could ever go to hang out with Carolina fans. That's such a massive selling point, and I'm very excited because I've enjoyed it. I'm on it all the time. Jacob's on it. We're all on it. So if you are, and I'm speaking directly to the THI people, if you've not signed up yet, 75% off right now. Boom, and you get all that stuff that Jacob just said, and you're in. Mm-hmm. And anybody that's from THI that signs up between now and Thursday night at midnight, reach out to me personally and let me know you signed up.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to tell you, I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but just do so, and maybe we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, just so people know, it's typically about $120. You're getting it for $30 right now. And again, you're getting that Paramount Plus and Showtime included. That's $12.99 a month by itself if you weren't a part of this community. So again, it is an absolutely fantastic
deal. I'm going to drink a bottle of water in the next couple of minutes to clear my throat.
Yeah, go ahead, man. We're not cutting this. We're going to keep it in so I don't have to spend another hour trying to figure out where we stopped and edit and cut this out and cut that out. We're going to see if we can roll straight through this thing.
I don't. Warts are fine in the sense that we're rolling this the way we roll it. And I think that's one of the things people like. Yeah, but we do have to talk about this amazing week.
Yeah, that's absolutely one way to put it. Obviously, it's a short week with Carolina playing on Monday night, and I want to spend the first few minutes of this talking about kind of the vibe this week around the program, a little bit about Bill Belichick's comments in his press conference on Wednesday afternoon, which you and Noah were at, and head on over to our website. You'll see some really good reporting on it and kind of what was said. You got to talk to a few other coaches as well and a couple players too, but there's a couple things Belichick said that I kind of want to focus on before we preview the Charlotte game and talk about, what does Carolina need to do to kind of bounce back and get a good win in Charlotte on Saturday night. But AJ, first and foremost, what is the vibe around the program? Because the vibe in the media right now is Carolina and Bill Belichick from a national media perspective. I'm not saying local media like us, but national media perspective, kind of the talk of the town. Everybody is kind of laughing at them, unfortunately. A lot of people, especially at Bill Belichick, there is a lot of harsh criticism with how Monday night went down. And I understand it when you consider, and we said it on three things, it was arguably like the worst case scenario for Carolina in so many different ways. But has that seeped into the football program at all? Is the vibe around the football program right now in this week, based on what you've seen and heard, is it very negative? Is it very woe is me? Is it very like everybody's kind of laughing at us right now? Or is it, hey guys, maybe we're not as far off as people think we are, and we've got a really good opportunity these next 2 weeks in particular to bounce back and at least get the ship back headed in the right direction?
I'll answer by saying this. If there is enough talent on the roster to win football games, and this staff is as good at teaching as they want everybody to believe, and as they've said, and I think as they've banked on, then they will fix stuff, because there's sort of two ways to look at it. One is just laugh at them.
And that's what a lot of people are doing.
I've talked to, look, I was on a national radio show Tuesday night, Fox Sports, and these guys are laughing during my segment. They find what happened Monday night to be one of the most comical things they've seen in sports in a long time. And I get that, because Carolina allowed itself to be built up and hyped up to the point where, my God, this might be Alabama and Ohio State. I'm not saying that was what they were doing, but that was the result in a lot of ways. Now, I think the fans have been very healthy-minded about this, because I didn't hear, and nobody communicated to us in any manner, oh, we're going 12-0 in the CFP. I never heard that from anybody. The Carolina fan has been wounded enough that they know not to do that. I think the last time that they decided that they learned their lesson was 2021, Sam's third year. I think that was when they realized, you know what, we're not doing the hype thing. But it's the people who are not around the program, who are not around Carolina fans, that built this thing up. But I do think Carolina allowed it, with the way the access went, with the way Carolina's social media just got people so amped up. And then, they let us in for 12 minutes. We see stretching, and then Hulu's got cameras all over the place. Some of the messaging really allowed this thing to mushroom into something so big that it was out of control Monday. And then they had a 40-minute infomercial before ever mentioning TCU on the pregame show. So I'm told. I haven't watched it yet. And then they go out and do that.
It was worst case scenario.
It's the absolute worst case scenario. They are the butt of jokes nationally. They've got people who are not sports commentators commentating, saying, boy, this is a disaster. They should fire Belichick. Jason Whitlock said they should fire him now. Get ahead of the train and fire him now. Now, whatever. I think Jason's entirely wrong on that. But point is, that's the narrative that's out there right now. And the Jordan Hudson stuff is back. When I was on Fox Sports Radio the other night, they asked me 3 questions about her. And that I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there, A, because it's none of my freaking business. I don't want to go there, B, because she ain't got nothing to do with blocking and tackling. So to me, it's a non-story.
But it's the lowest hanging fruit, yeah.
But the point is, everything is fair game now. They were on the gurney. They got cut open and everything came out. Mm-hmm. And the vultures are picking at all that they see there. Mm-hmm. Right? So going back to the vibe, I think the vibe is extremely healthy. And I say this because they didn't come in there and do woe is me. They didn't come in there and shake their heads with no answers. I thought Belichick responded to questions today. I thought that he was very fair in his response. And then we have Matt Lombardi, the quarterback's coach, and then more so Brian Belichick, the defensive backs coach, because a lot of the questions were there, lots of stuff about miscommunication. Got to get better fundamentally. Mm-hmm. They got to get back. They're not where they need to be. Got to figure out rotations. I asked Bill what I said Monday night I was going to ask about. I got the impression in the first quarter, and I posted it on our message board, and all you THI people who are not yet with us would have seen it in the game thread. I said, it looks like they're still in mid-August player evaluations, the way they were rolling guys in. They played 9 defensive backs in the first 4 series Monday night. So I asked Bill, essentially, how much of this was still about player development. Not that you were going to throw a game to learn about your team. Obviously, the intent was to win. They planned to win. But I do believe that a guy like Bill Belichick, who has always seen the big picture, the other 11 are more important than this one. We've got to find out who we've got. We're going to stay in the same base schemes for everybody so we can gauge them equally, especially once it started getting out of hand. So you just had to see what the guys could do. I'm not saying that's what their full intent was. Their intent first was to win the game, but they don't know who they have yet. And a couple of people I talked to who are very well connected around the country, inside coaching staffs, NFL scouts, that kind of thing. And here's some of the things that I learned. Yes, I learned yesterday some and earlier today, about what they're saying and what they were questioning. The prevailing thought was, how much football did these guys play in August? They look like they didn't play football. You could be in thud at 80%, and that's not football. Thud gets you to the point where you play football, and you got to be careful about hitting so much. And they had injuries at center, and there was an early hit on Gio Lopez in practice, and they maybe wanted to avoid that. The question, how much football they looked like they hadn't really tackled, like they hadn't blocked and tackled. Okay, that's what other coaches at power conference programs who watched the game and a couple of NFL scouts were saying. Okay?
And it looked like that from the stands too, and it looked like that from the press box as well. I mean, this is not, 100%. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, 100%. The next thing was, they look like the slowest power conference team any of them ever see. They look so slow. The no burners on the edge. Nobody to keep up with other teams' burners. Extremely slow to fill in gaps defensively to make your fits. Because they didn't look like they hadn't played football, they're not fighting out blocks well. They're getting absorbed, consumed by offensive linemen. Look at the 28-yard touchdown run. That was a play in which 8 guys were consumed, and the other 2 or 3 were like totally misread it in pre-snap and weren't exactly darting after the ball carrier, because I think there was, when you're not sharp up here, when you get beat up here and you know it immediately in pre-snap or you're in recovery mode, sometimes you're slow, especially in the snowball effect. And they were in snowball effect at that point. The other thing was, they don't have any talent.
I've heard that a lot. That is one of the biggest things I've heard after that game.
2 NFL scouts that were there said they got like 2 NFL prospects. And one of them is a true freshman offensive lineman who arrived in June. And they said fell down a couple of times when he didn't get hit. I mean, he just looked completely overwhelmed. And Eden Buchanan ended up playing 24 snaps. I don't know if he got hurt or not. We're not going to get that kind of intel. We could try to find it, but he was overwhelmed. He leapfrogged. And the other thing, too, is about the talent. And this question was thrown out there. And this comes literally from other power conference coaching staffs. Trust me. If you look at what they did in the portal, because they got started late, they were way behind in the winter. And the winter is where you fatten up in the portal. And the spring is where you fill in a few cracks. But Carolina had to fatten up more in the spring. Quite frankly, they got their best Andrew Simpson. They got him in the spring. Mm-hmm. They got Gio Lopez in the spring. The guy calling the plays defensively and the guy running the show offensively, they got in the spring. They didn't show up until May.
It's not ideal, is it?
Not ideal. So in the winter, they missed a ton of that time. And a couple of these coaches, like, look at the roster, look at the transfer roster. You've got guys from power programs that didn't start, other than Thad Dixon. A lot of them just didn't play much, and now maybe you see why. And the guys that did play a lot came from either FCS or lower end FBS. So you've got a staff here who thinks we can make it work. We could turn chicken, you know what, into chicken salad. And they didn't. It was chicken, you know what. That's what everybody saw on the field. So those are thoughts for people who aren't trying to get clicks. Those are thoughts for people who aren't trying to get ratings and trying to shake the tree and say things and write things that are going to generate attention. These are people behind the scenes who are not speaking for any other reason than this is what we saw. And because it was such a built-up game and a fascinating set of circumstances that any football coach is going to want to know, what does a Bill Belichick college football team look like? They all watched it. And that's what they're saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's what they're saying. And I think there's a lot of value in bringing it to this. So I go back to the vibe. The vibe to me is very grounded. We got to get a lot better fundamentally. We were not good at this. We didn't really do anything right. We could be a lot better than this, but we've got to teach. We got to get better fundamentally. And I thought Brian Belichick said the smartest thing I heard all day today. You can scheme until the cows come home, but if you don't have the fundamentals to execute the scheme, no scheme matters.
Exactly. And
so I think that they're back to basics, and that's fundamentals.
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
Again, and it's never ideal to be talking fundamentals after game one. I mean, again, I get it, but it's what Carolina was so poor at. So I understand where it's coming from. But again, that's not the press conference you really want to hear if you're a Carolina fan. You know, we got to get back to basics. It's like, well, that probably means you got whooped in the first game like Carolina did.
By the way, real fast, the other thing that was said by a couple, they look like August 10th against the Eagles. Like a Thursday night, a Wednesday night, Thursday night, whatever, August 10th against the Eagles. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that.
Like an exhibition game approach to try to learn what they got.
Well, and I'm glad you said that.
That's what we're being told.
Yes, and I want to I was funny you say that because I was going to bring something up that Belichick talked about on Wednesday today that I think kind of hits on that. And this is from your report. So let me just read a little bit of it. Belichick said the evaluation process is still going hard. He talked about how it takes about 6 games in the NFL. At that point, you really know your team in the NFL. This is who we are, and nothing is really going to change. That was a quote from him. And I read that, and I find that very concerning. I think a lot of Carolina fans read that and might be a little concerned as well because there's more games in the NFL. The NFL structure is completely different in terms of playoffs and this and that. And, it's completely different in college in so many different levels. You don't have 6 games to evaluate in college football. If you're still evaluating by the time you go down to UCF and you play Clemson and you still don't really know what your team is, I'm sorry to say it, but you'll be lucky if you beat Charlotte, you'll beat Richmond, and you'll lose those 2 games. You just will. So when I read that, I say, I get that. I understand from an NFL perspective, okay, that makes sense, whatever. You've also got exhibition games to do it. I don't think that mindset necessarily translates to college, especially because of this, AJ. Carolina did not pay Bill Belichick X amount of money and put all this money into the staff and all this money into building this whole new roster to, good luck the first 6. If you win a couple, that's fine, man. Then maybe towards the end, you figure it out. We've talked about it before. They brought Bill Belichick in to be successful now.
Yeah.
And if they're still evaluating, they don't really know what their team is made of by game 4 and by game 5 and game 6, that to me is a major concern. So I understood what Belichick was trying to say, and there is truth in it from his time in the NFL. But when I read that, I said, that I don't know if that doesn't really work in college. And it felt like the TCU game was used as an evaluating tool. But what that ultimately led to was an embarrassing display on national television, an embarrassing beatdown that I don't think Carolina invested all this money in the football program for. So yeah. I don't know. What did you make of that comment? I'm not going to pick on that, but I just found that kind of I found it concerning to say the least.
And I get that. And I'm gonna explain my take on that in a second. I said all along that you don't invest what they've invested to build. You don't bring him in at this stage in his life to, well, let's see if we can get this thing going by year 3.
Yeah,
Kalen DeBoer is going to learn there ain't no year 3 in Tuscaloosa.
Oh yeah,
right?
he's a dead man walking.
If Carolina wants to be the big boy, like they are financing now, then they got to act like a big boy and can when can needs to be canned. I'm not saying Belichick needs to be canned. I'm just saying you cannot look at this. Well, by the 3rd year, it might work. You cannot approach it that way.
Let me say this too, AJ. The way college football is now with the portal and everything, there isn't really a year 3. You know,
you have to do it now because the teams change over so much. So let me explain. So I believe that Carolina's financing wins now. They're not financing to get wins later. They're financing to get wins now.
100%.
Yeah, I'm put that out the table. The other thing is, let me kind of explain a little bit different than maybe your take on the 6 games. In the NFL, it's all they do. So much of it, the personnel is all fantastic. So much of it is about scheming, learning, and recognizing on the fly. And knowing your team, I think Belichick is saying, understanding every nuance you can access from your personnel. And what the things you're going to face, how your personnel might be able to go up against it. So you know that going into this game, we have to have this very different defensive scheme, and we know we have the personnel to put this forward against that type of offense. That's knowing your team. I think it's a higher volume of complete understanding of who you are. That's what he's used to. I think in college, a lot of knowing your team is understanding its emotion. And that's new. And Kamari House, today, when I asked him a question about it, appeared that when that pass interference early against Marcus Allen was called, it just like sucked the air out of the defense. Yeah. It's like they all put their heads down, and 5 plays later, TCU's going in the end zone.
By the way, it was one of the worst pass interference calls I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was. And the onslaught was underway, and Kamari acknowledged that set them back some. Mm-hmm. So for all the skills and fundamentals that you're teaching in practice, one of the things that college coaches must address is mental strength, is dealing with the emotion and ebbs and flows that young people have a harder time handling and corralling than older people. And the staff, I asked Brian Belichick about it. He didn't want to go there, but clearly he saw that, because we all saw it. This group didn't handle that well. And I think a lesson for the coaching staff is, for as many reps as a guy gets on a sled or a tackling dummy or covering a route, they need to also coach the other part of that. And I don't think that they coached that, because I think that they were probably surprised by it. And I say that based on conversations. I say it based on what was said today. Kamari House said it.
Yeah.
His words. And and we saw it. So I think his words matched exactly what our eyes saw. Mm-hmm. So the coaches could come in and say whatever, it doesn't matter. A player that they chose to give to us 2 days after the game, the guy who played the most snaps on the team Monday night, said that. So there are a lot of other things that Belichick's going to have to get to know about this team. And I think the value that they gain from everything that took place from when those kids got to the old well walk is immense. Mm-hmm. And I think that if this is a brilliant staff, they'll be so much better moving forward, because now they've experienced it. It's just like anything with a new job. He's been a football coach for a long time. He's never been a college football coach. Now he has. And it's all new and different. We switched over from Rivals to 24/7. I had to learn a new system. I've been doing this crap for 29 years. I had to learn a new system. I had to learn maybe a new way of plugging who we are. It takes time. Trust me, if you would have had a video camera on me trying to navigate our admin in early August, it would have been hellaciously entertaining.
It would have done views, man.
Now it would be boring.
Yeah.
So everybody has their buffer zone. We saw Monday night, there is a massive buffer zone for this staff and Bill Belichick, which to me makes the rest of the season incredibly intriguing, makes this week intriguing.
Yeah.
Because all this, now they know. It wasn't August 10th against the Eagles. It was September 1st in a real game against an NFL quarterback, a head coach who was in the national title game 3 years earlier. And by the way, dichotomy, one program is like North Korea. We can't see anything. The other program is, welcome on in, guys.
Yeah, TCU.
I was reading daily live camp reports from media covering TCU. I ran a report on our site based off all these media reports, and I noted 14 injured TCU players. Sonny Dykes is like, we got nothing to hide. We are who we are. Come on in. Report it all. Jimmy Smith hobbled off the field with a left ankle injury in the middle of practice. Timmy Smith went in and replaced him and caught an 18-yarder. Such and such coach got on the defensive back about how he turned his hips the wrong way. That's the kind of reporting they were doing. Sonny Dykes is like, I am who I am. We are who we are. We're still going to beat you. And they got this camp
good programs do.
Yeah, and they got this camp over here. You can't see a damn thing. And then you roll out that performance. So I'm not saying one's a better way than the other. What I'm saying is they went against an extremely confident group and a coaching staff that knew what they had. They understood that temperament is part of culture. Handling the pass interference is part of culture. And when you've got 70 new players and you've got a bunch of guys coaching college football for the first time, either ever or in a long time, those little things that perhaps they just don't have yet ready in line, they now learn that they have to shore up a little bit more. They have to get better culture. The culture is not there yet. And it shouldn't, and it's hard to expect it. It's not fair to expect it to be there. I think a lot of the criticisms of Belichick should be tempered because let's see how they handle. They got all these warts that they've seen. So what do you do when you have a wart? You treat it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, how do they treat the warts? Let's see how they treat the warts. And if they're still making the same mistakes and getting destroyed at the line of scrimmage and don't adjust schemes and look like a program with the deer caught in the headlights, if they're still doing that in October, then the floodgates will open and all the criticism is justified. Mm-hmm. But let's pump the brakes on that and see how they handle it now. I think it actually becomes a more fascinating story now than had they beaten TCU the way they did. Because we're really going to find out what this group's all about now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I said a similar thing. I put out a solo drop on Tuesday because I just wanted to give a little bit about my take and perspective on kind of what I saw as someone who was, again, there in person in the stands, sit with a lot of Carolina fans. And that's kind of how I ended the podcast. I said, should Carolina fans panic yet? No. But are there legitimate reasons to be concerned based on what we saw on Monday night? Abso-freaking-lutely. So that's kind of where, and that, again, that's kind of what you're saying. That's kind of how I'm approaching these next few weeks, because I think the good news for Carolina, AJ, it's who they play the next 2 weeks. And again, I'm not trying to pick on Charlotte, but is a program that is struggled and is, in the grand scheme of college football, a newer program. And Carolina should go down to Charlotte and beat them and handle them pretty handily. And Richmond the next week as well. So Carolina does have a couple of weeks now where maybe that evaluation process can kind of take shape a little bit better than if you had to play UCF on the road this weekend and then maybe week 3 you had to play Clemson. Then you're kind of looking at it here like, whew, this might be a long 3 weeks for North Carolina. So I do think glass half full approach, that is kind of the positive aspect of the next couple of weeks for North Carolina. But as we move into the Charlotte preview portion of this, said it in the show I did too, if Carolina goes down to Charlotte on Saturday night and they put together a similar performance to what we saw against TCU, they will be very lucky if they win that game. I don't care what you think about Charlotte. Carolina was that bad against TCU, in my opinion, where if that similar performance is put together, they could very well lose that game on Saturday night.
Agree.
So that is kind of the tricky part.
Agree.
One of the big things that I'll be looking for as they head into Charlotte. So I want to transition into the preview portion and focus on Charlotte. And this one's going to be a little bit different than the TCU. And we focused a lot on TCU in that one, and rightly so. Because of the opponent, there's no disrespect to Charlotte. I think the storyline for Carolina, especially coming off Monday night, is more about what we need to see from them and what they need to do on Saturday night, again, to attempt to get this ship headed in the right direction again. Because we really won't know that, AJ, because of these opponents coming up, in my opinion. we're not going to really know what this team and where this team is at and what they're made of until that UCF game. We'll learn some stuff over the next couple of weeks, no doubt about it. But we have to keep in mind who they're playing. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Charlotte or Richmond, but there are levels to this, especially when it comes to diving into ACC play. So I think the number one storyline, AJ, Connor Harrell starting a quarterback, a guy that was supposed to kind of got the keys last year after Max Johnson injury, didn't end up working out with him. He looked, no disrespect to Connor Harrell, I think we talked about it, he looked a little bit out of his depth at Carolina when he played, and he's the starting guy for them. Didn't look great in week 1 against App State in Bank of America Stadium. I know they also play Grayson Loftus as well, the Duke transfer, but from the reports that came out this week, Connor Harrell will get the start against his former team on Saturday night. And there's some other guys on the team. You got Justin Olson, Jaquarius Conley, who's one of their best defensive players. Really
Was that not awesome to see him score?
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic, man.
Yeah, I'm diving in very quickly. I know I interrupted.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
But I'm not going to get into the depth of the Jaquarius Conley story. But to see him score and happy right now and excelling and being a student and having the social experience he's having at Charlotte is an awesome, awesome thing. Mm-hmm. That was a very tough scenario. He never should have been put in that situation to return a kickoff where he got hurt. I thought that was a massive mistake by the coaching staff. It's not their fault he got hurt, but it was a mistake having him back there. The other thing is that he really, really struggled after that. Really, I've told you some of the stuff.
Yeah, I think some people know. I think we've talked about it.
Even, and I'm not going to go into. It's not fair to him because I think what's really cool about this game. Let's say Max Johnson starts at quarterback because Gio's hurt. You've got 2 incredible success stories that should be applauded in Max. And it's a shame that there weren't more people in the stands the other day by the time he came in because he deserved a standing ovation. And also Jaquarius. Mm-hmm. Jaquarius is a success story, and he's going to be so much better in life moving forward because of what he's overcome. So applause to Jaquarius Conley, and every Carolina fan should give a nod to him Saturday night, 100%. And you should also give one to Max Johnson every time you see him this season.
Yeah, I'm glad you butted in to say that because you're absolutely right about Conley. I'm very, just from a human perspective, it's really cool to see him.
I love it. I'm so glad. I'm so happy for him. That's what this period in life is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about the self-discovering and growing and maturing. You come in as a kid, you leave as a man, all that kind of stuff. The freaking roller coaster that he's been on, and he's coming out on this end. When I saw that touchdown, I was really, really happy for him. And I was happy for his dad, too.
Yeah, I still think he could do a job for North Carolina. Probably could start for him. I really do think he's that good. It's just a shame how it kind of went with that. But awesome story with him. And he's one of Charlotte's best players, and he looks the part too. You almost watch him against Charlotte, like, man, this guy looks like a guy that should still be in North Carolina. But again, we know how that.
He's always looked the part. He's always looked the part.
There's no doubt. He was fantastic his freshman year at Carolina. I don't want anybody that go under the radar. He was really good for them.
That was a horrible injury.
Yeah, it was, and an unnecessary one to say the least with how the situation he was put in.
And a damaging one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Curtis Simpson and Liam Boyd, another couple of guys that, were at Carolina and currently on the Charlotte roster. So some connections there, no doubt about it.
I thought Curtis Simpson was going to be a good player. The staff loved him. When you talk to the staff off the record, they love Curtis Simpson. That was surprised when he left. Mm-hmm. I would love to see Curtis Simpson get coached by this group. I think there's a lot there. I really do. But I don't even know if he's starting. I haven't peeled the layers yet on Charlotte because of quick turnaround. I'm doing that Thursday. Mm-hmm. But Liam Boyd did a pretty solid job. Started at Clemson. Clemson, Carolina, now Charlotte. Very interesting.
I know, quite the story for him. Yeah, and again, but there are Carolina connections there, so that'll be an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on, especially with a guy like Connor Harrell, especially kind of running the show for them at quarterback.
A good dude.
Yeah, good dude. Just, again, didn't work out at North Carolina.
And his dad made some of the best suits for Carolina players to wear. His dad's a tailor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Some of the suits the guys, I think it was Omarion Hampton's suit he wore last year to the ACC kickoff. Connor's dad designed the suit.
Oh, that's cool. I had no idea. I did not know that. Learn something new every day. At least you try to. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's why Connor's a very well-dressed young man.
Yeah, he's a sharp-looking dude. Yeah, there's no doubt. I've noticed that if you follow him.
Really smart guy, man. Really smart guy.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But in terms of it's funny because I think these two teams, Carolina and Charlotte, are coming off kind of similar results, even if you like very different situations, no doubt about it, but kind of coming off similar performances, especially statistically. I mean, they're coming off a 34-11 loss to App State. If you break down the team stats in it, I mean, they gave up over 500 yards of offense to App State, 586, only had 218. You kind of reverse it and look at the Carolina team stats from the game, gave up 542 to TCU and only had 222. So there are some similarities. 32 first downs for App State. TCU had 29. Carolina only had 10. Charlotte only had 15. A very different scenarios, very different games, very different opponents, but both teams, for lack of a better word, coming off disappointing performances, to say the least. And obviously Carolina's a little bit more disappointing because of the expectations and also what the spectacle was in it being literally a national televised game. But these are two teams, I say that to say these are two teams that are looking to bounce back. There's no doubt about it. And Carolina, in my opinion, is going to have to play a heck of a lot better than it did against TCU and needs to play a heck of a lot better against TCU to go down to Charlotte and win convincingly, like I think a lot of Carolina fans are expecting. And let's face it, you don't bring Bill Belichick in to go down to Charlotte and win by a field goal. That's not why you bring a guy like that in. So I want to focus real quickly on, to wrap this thing up, not as much on Charlotte specifically, but on Carolina and what they need to do to go down there and win, and what we're going to be kind of keeping an eye on, not only going into that game, but during the game in terms of the performance that Carolina puts together, AJ. So number one, what are the things, if you want to put offense and defense together, you just want to focus bigger picture, what is kind of the number one and two thing you're going to be looking for on Saturday, again, to make sure and see that Carolina is putting together a bounce back performance that I think this program needs after a very disappointing start to the season?
Sometimes Captain Obvious is spot on.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my Captain Obvious take.
I'm a big fan of Captain Obvious.
They got a block on one side, they got a tackle on the other side.
And let me just say this, too.
They had 19 missed tackles according to PFF, but I swear to you, man, there were more than that.
It felt like that. And I'm glad you said blocking, too. Sorry to butt in, but a lot of what we saw against TCU was both lines of scrimmage was back foot. They were always on the back foot getting pushed back. I think against this opponent, we need to see from the O-line and D-line, it needs to be front foot blocking, establishing that physicality early and dominating the line of scrimmage against a team like this. Sorry to butt in.
This time last week when we did our I'm getting all these text messages still. This time I had to look at that one. This time last week, I said on the show that everything I'm hearing coming out of practices and stuff is that this is going to be a very good run blocking offensive line, a suspect pass blocking offensive line. The run blocking grade was 53.3, which is grotesque. And quite frankly, I think the grade was too high. They were running those jumbo packages and still couldn't get any push. If what we saw the other night is a precursor to what we're going to see in 11 more games, then it's not going to be a fun experience for anybody who has to watch it. Some of us have to watch it.
It'll be a long season. It's going to be a long season for Carolina fans.
I think that more than pretty plays and all that kind of stuff, they've got to block and sustain blocks. They've got to limit pressure on the quarterback. They can't look woefully slow. They cannot look overpowered on the offensive line. Offensive linemen have to be lower when making their blocks than they were. Defensive line, they got to strike blocks. My favorite Gene Chizik, we make jokes about Gene Chizik's catastrophic term.
Bend don't break.
But the striking blocks was something that, when listening to him talk, I learned a lot just about sort of the viciousness of beating a block. I didn't see a lot of viciousness beating blocks Monday night. They have to be vicious in beating the block. And there's a fundamental part there, going back to what Brian Belichick was saying today, and Bill Belichick also talking about fundamentals. If you're vicious, you significantly enhance the level of viciousness by being fundamentally sound. So if you combine doing it the right way and being a vicious badass, a smaller linebacker, a corner, a nickel, or whoever can beat a block. And if you could beat a block, then you're in position to make a play if the play is near you. But I didn't see a lot of that. So that's what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You could, I'm sure a lot of other storylines will evolve. Maybe Jordan Shipp gets past the defense, gets a couple big scores and all that. But what is the trend? What do the trenches look like on those plays? Did those plays occur because the trenches did what they were supposed to? We'll see. But to me, Michael Lombardi said it himself, and Bill's echoed it, but Lombardi says it every time he talks to anybody. You're building the program and this team and program inside out. Well, then the area you want to see absolute progress on both sides of the ball is at the line of scrimmage. Because if they don't improve, nothing else matters.
Yes, 100%.
Doesn't matter. None of it matters.
100%.
So they've got to be fundamental. They've got to be vicious. The offensive line has got to get off the ball quicker, and they got to be lower. There's a lot of upright attempts at blocking Monday night. Mm-hmm. And when you're upright and you're blocking, you're getting your ass whipped. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go 7 series gaining 32 yards like they did. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, you're going to go 7 series giving up 417. They were outgained in that 41-0 stretch, 417-32. That is getting manhandled at both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's where that begins. And it doesn't end there, but that's where it begins. It takes a while before anything else to matter. When you're that bad, you could have NFL back 7. And we've talked about the back 7 and then the big concern being up front. Now, I thought the offensive line would be a lot better than what we saw the other night. So far, one game in, I was very wrong on that. We'll see if there's an adjustment. But that's what you need to look for, Carolina fans. Are they getting low off the snap, and are they getting in their blocks and sustaining? On the other side, are they striking blocks and making themselves available to make plays? That's it. Mm-hmm. If you want to see progress and see this team align itself, position itself to have a chance to make the rest of the season mean a lot, then they must do those things. Otherwise, it's a wasted night.
You're 100% right.
In a tiny stadium.
Yeah. 15,000. You got to win the battle in the trenches. I don't care where you're playing or who you're playing. If you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure. I agree with everything you said. I'm going to throw one more thing in before we wrap this one up. I want to see adjustments made by this staff. People talk about this staff. People talk about the greatness of Bill Belichick, and rightly so, and some of the other guys on the staff, and brought this guy in and brought this guy in. He's been in the NFL for this long, and he's been a college coach for this long. One of the most disappointing things from Monday night, in my opinion, I talked to a couple fans about it at halftime. I said, what adjustments are going to be made at half? Because Mac Brown was criticized to the moon and back because of that, and rightly so. I'm not saying it was unjustified. We all know how that went down, and we're not going to focus on that anymore. But the fact that Carolina got noticeably worse in the second half was very, very concerning to me. So if Carolina struggles against Charlotte, if Carolina's not doing things well, again, if they're not maybe playing as physical as they are, if Justin Olsen, who, again, led him in receiving yards, funny enough, only had 56, but led him in receiving yards against App State. If he's got 4 catches for 84 yards in the first half, I want to see adjustments made at halftime to stop those kind of things. Because if you can't do it against a team like Charlotte, and again, no disrespect to Charlotte, let's just call a spade, that is not going to be a very good theme going into the rest of the season. And again, I hold this staff to a little bit higher standard because of what we've been told and because of the money that's been spent on it and because of the amount of success on, especially with a guy like Bill Belichick over there. So we need to see adjustments be made. And again, it really shouldn't take till halftime. You should be able to make adjustments on the sidelines if things aren't going well. We didn't really see that on Monday night, but that is a thing. You're talking about players. I agree with the line of scrimmage. That's the number one thing for me, but I do want to see the coaching staff do a better job of putting their players in the right position to make plays and be successful. And a lot of that comes with making adjustments in game. I don't think we saw enough, if any of that, on Monday night. Yeah.
And that was one of my criticisms, but I'm theorizing only. I think that they wanted to see everybody in the base set so they can equally evaluate.
But that is,
I know. Trust me, it sounds insane. But
if that means getting beat by 34, it's just fine.
I think you get to a point where we're not winning this game, and it's all about evaluation.
Yeah, I guess to an extent. Yeah.
Because I thought it was interesting that Bill was asked today about blitzing, What is your theory on the use of blitzing? And when you're down, why didn't you do it more? And he said something to the effect of it. I could be wrong. I'll go back and look. Well, we were down so much we didn't want to blitz. You don't really want to blitz when you're down like that, or like you might. I didn't really understand his response. So I'm going to go back and listen to it again when I have a chance. I thought it was an unexpected response, and the person that asked the question, I'm sure, thought, well, I didn't think I was getting that. We have to learn more about the philosophy too. So maybe the philosophy was, this is what we deem to be our best approach. So we're not going to alter it because we think this is our best approach. So maybe the adjustment is the fact they didn't make an adjustment. Instead of saying, oh my God, this isn't working, let's panic and try something new. You don't really want to start over in mid-game. I know a lot of coaches.
I do think you can do.
I know a lot of coaches have. I've talked to coaches off the record over years, position coaches, coordinators, whatever it is. Some coaches get so married to a game plan and become so convinced that this is the only way to attack that even if you're running uphill and you're losing all your men, you're going to keep running up that same hill because this is our plan. So we're not deviating, even though your men are getting lopped off one after another. Some coaches believe that you got to have a second and third plan. We were told that the brilliance of Bill Belichick is there's a second and third plan. We didn't see a second and third plan the other night, which is why the theory I advanced, which is not just coming from me, it's what some other people said, some of those NFL or some of those other college coaches, it was like August 10th against the Eagles on a Thursday night. So their point is, this at some point became strictly about evaluation.
Yeah.
And not trying to play catch up. Because if you're trying to play catch up doing things you don't think in the end this team's going to try to execute that much, then you're wasting reps. But if you want to just see the basics and build out from there, like we're talking about, get as many reps of basics as you can to get that intel to begin that process building out. When I asked Bill about the rolling guys in and just doing the evaluating, he did say, look, there's some guys we know that are locked into those spots, but there are spots that are not locked in and we have to evaluate. So they don't have a 22. They don't have it yet. So maybe they realized at some point we're losing this game. We got to quickly get to 22, and maybe being in base, staying in base, evaluating strictly in base is a quicker process to getting to 22. That's a theory advance. That's a theory that I wondered Monday night. They're not going to come right out and tell us, but I do think his answer to my question was a little bit, look, we've got a lot more spots that we need to get figured out. So it makes sense that if you're going to get rolled, get something out of all 60 minutes. And maybe long term, they end up getting something out of those 60 minutes more than it looked like at the time. And especially if you have an emotional tint to your glasses. And by the way, Justin Olsen, 7th year, he was in Mac's original class that December.
Yeah, kind of crazy he's still playing in it.
In 2021, he played 81 snaps in South Bend against Notre Dame and had 1 target. So he had 4 catches there tonight. Kudos to him. Mm-hmm. He's got to have a master's by now. And he's still playing college football. He's still balling. And he caught some passes. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. No, it's again, I don't care who you are, man. I want to see you succeeding out there in any
one target
life you're in. Yeah. I'm not a hater. I promise. I'm not a hater. I don't want to see people fail all over the place. You know?
That's the thing, though. Here's a guy who could have just said, well, crap, this isn't working out.
Yeah.
He had 1 target and 81 reps. Here he is playing on national TV and he's running down the field. We kind of make some jokes in the press box. Oh, there's Justin running up the sideline again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ball ain't coming to him.
No.
He stuck it out. He's playing ball. He's got a master's. He's using football to get an education and advance himself. So, again, there are all kinds of storylines. I do like to track players that leave. I know Amari Campbell had a really good game for Penn State. You saw Bo Atkinson out there making a few plays.
Travis Shaw played a little bit. Yeah.
Shaw played a little bit. You know, when you're us, you get to talk to these kids some. You pull for them. You want them to do well when they leave.
Noah Burnett, like starting kicker for Notre Dame. Like, where did that come from?
Noah Burnett was almost in position to have to kick the most important field goal of the weekend in college football.
I know. There's a lot of Carolina guys out there at big time programs, but I think that's a good place to wrap this one up. I'm very interested to see what happens on Saturday. I hope Carolina doesn't get behind by 30 and against Charlotte and decide, well, you know what? Let's just start evaluating again. I hope that's not what we're walking into here. But
I do want to go one place very quickly. We'll do it very quickly because I know you have to go and I have to go.
Yeah.
We were going to do a separate pod about this, and it's not demeaning Charlotte at all. Kudos to Charlotte for getting the Tar Heels to come to their stadium. But the reality is this, and I sent you the email. North Carolina should not be playing in Charlotte Stadium. It's 15,000 seats. They're bringing in extra seats. But we got the credential email, the media email today. And the fact that they don't have a press box, basically. Like,
you have to sit outside, right?
We have to sit outside under a tent. And they said that there's going to be a hot spot for Wi-Fi that may or may not work.
AJ, I'm telling you right now.
It may or may not work.
I'm telling you, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
and nobody watching or listening gives a crap where we're put.
No.
It's our job. We have to be a working environment. It illustrates the fact that Carolina should never play in an environment like this.
It's a lose-lose.
I went to Old Dominion. I should send you the picture. I went to Old Dominion in 2017 when they played there. They never should have played there. Transitioning program. Field was a mess. It was old artificial turf, curling up in the corners like an old rug you need to throw, like a runner that you need to throw out, or a welcome mat. Carolina had 5 season-ending knee injuries in that game, by the way. And the picture that they had one bathroom in the press box, and it hadn't been cleaned in ages. And I took a picture of it, which is pretty popular in the media circle. They played a game with Georgia State a few years ago, and Mac was later like, would never do this again. It was a 2-bit operation, and the field was just not right for football. And it was 11,000 people in a drizzling day. You cannot go play games like this. No disrespect to Charlotte whatsoever. And Charlotte would understand. Look, Charlotte's not going to play at Lenore-Rhine. So North Carolina shouldn't go play at Charlotte. They tried to move the game. They try to do stuff so they can have a different game. They don't want Bill Belichick going down there. It's going to be a small stadium he's ever coached.
It's ESPN Plus, AJ. It's not even on television.
I know. Yeah, it's so bad. And I do know that Carolina tried, but their hands were tied with this. Yeah. So Larry Fedora wanted a lot of games like this. I think they had a home and home at Liberty canceled. They were going to go to Liberty. At least Liberty's got a nice new stadium.
Liberty's got a nice stadium. I'm from that area. I mean, I went to a game last year.
I don't think Carolina should ever go to App, but not because of the 2-bit operation.
That was a cool spectacle at App too. But
I don't know what. Yeah, App was great. You go there, App's legitimate. 30 or 40 or 42,000 people there. Oh, and I'm not calling Charlotte a 2-bit operation because I haven't personally experienced covering a game. We're on a concourse, under a tent with Wi-Fi, a hotspot that may or may not work.
Oh, it won't work.
That's 2-bit. And Charlotte's media shouldn't have to even deal with that. So, but if it's like that for me, it's just, I've just heard it's 15,000 seats.
It's a lose-lose for Carolina because if you go down there and you win, you're supposed to win. Great, no pat on the back. I mean, you get a great job, guys. You're supposed to beat Charlotte easily. You did it. Congratulations. If you go down there and you struggle and you barely win, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, look at what Bill Belichick's doing, especially after that Monday night loss. And if you go down there and lose, it's a absolute disaster waiting to happen. So again,
especially
I say it's a lose-lose.
In that environment, especially if you take a broad photo of a stadium that's smaller than 30 high school stadiums in Texas and not as nice, although I know they're spending a lot of money. So they're making the commitment there. And again, I'm not criticizing the university. No. It's that the university with its program is just still in the evolutionary stage. Carolina's doing them a favor going down there, but Carolina doesn't need to do favors. I remember Larry Fedora used to talk. I asked him about scheduling teams like that. Why do you bring in that in-state FCS teams? Well, we need to help fund our program. It's not your job to fund their program.
No, it's not your job.
You got to fund your own program. Yeah, I don't think that the bigger programs should have any obligation to helping the smaller programs, especially when you're just trying to survive yourself.
Well, I mean, a smaller program comes into your home stadium and you pay. They get paid a lot of money to do that. Yeah. It doesn't. It makes even. I get why you do it at home. Totally, that makes sense. But
not that much. I don't think you should ever play FCS.
Again, I can understand the argument with a 12-game college schedule. It doesn't really. I get that. We've talked about that before. But it makes even less sense going on the road to a place like this because of what I said, because of logistics and part of that and all that. And I get that, but also just the lose-lose scenario that Carolina just kind of finds itself walking into. Sure, you might gain something from it from a evaluation and learning what your team's about standpoint for sure. But overall, you're not really going to win or lose. Lose, it's catastrophic. Win, it, like I said, it's like, well, yeah, you're supposed to win, so whatever. You know what I mean?
So we may or may not tweet from the game. We may or may not.
Hey, you know how stadium Wi-Fi works. The hotspot, I'm telling you, is a disaster waiting to happen.
Disaster. So the last part of the story. So I forwarded the email to my dad, and my dad has told me 300,000 times, save it for the book.
Yeah, save it for the book. Yeah.
He said, "There's your lead to your book."
Yeah.
Year 30, Bill Belichick, second game, first road game in state. Hotspot may or may not work. So there's the lead. There's the lead to your book right there.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of a sports journalist for sure, man. Yeah. We know how stadium Wi-Fi's work. You can have, we've been to some fantastic, expensive stadiums, AJ, and the Wi-Fi barely works. So
we got Bill Belichick rolling in here and could be his first college win. And the hotspot may or may not work.
And nobody's going to see it because it's on ESPN Plus, which costs about $12 a month. So yeah, it's just it is a weird one all the way around, man. It's honestly, it doesn't make any sense. But we'll see. Man. Hopefully Carolina wins.
On ESPN too, but maybe Carolina's this wild stuff. Wow,
it is. It is. If you would have told me Bill Belichick's first road game would have been not even on TV, I would have been like, well, come on, of course somebody's gonna put it on TV. No, it's ESPN Plus. Like you got to pay to watch that thing. So it is just interesting all the way around. Maybe more people will pay to watch it because of what happened on Monday night. I know it's not great from a Carolina perspective, but there are a lot of people out there hate watching, AJ. I will tell you that for free.
The numbers, that's a stream. So I guess those would be streaming numbers. It's going to be very interesting to see. Someone's going to have to do a report on it. There's going to be a release on it.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see how much the curiosity factor is so still high that they get numbers there.
I think there'll be some, but yeah, I think there's a lot of people. State fans, I'm looking at you because I've seen you guys talking and laughing at Carolina the last few days, and I get it. It's a very weird, bizarre fan base. We've already talked about
how many TVs in Wake County changed to that game at about 9:15 that night that were not watching it previously.
I was listening to Ovius and Giglio, which I know you've been on before, and it's a really good show. I enjoy listening to it, and they do these like call-in specials where people leave messages and I'm not lying to you. I listened to 2 shows after they've had 2 shows since that I've listened to. Where they talked about it, and 90% of the voicemails were NC State fans just laughing at Carolina. And it was just like, it just assured everything that we've always talked about before of like, I think NC State fans were actually more happy that Carolina got blown out than they actually were that they barely beat ECU. And I understand it because
they went door and out.
It was just, that was again, like
they hated the infomercial. They hated the attention and they loved the result. I get it.
It was
I
wild.
Totally get it. Although I think I still, after all these years, and I covered state for a long time too, I've never understood why state fans, the ones that I knew, and I knew some really sharp people who were very well adjusted in life, except when it came to their fandom. They're not well adjusted when it came to their fandom at all. Why they would get more satisfaction with Carolina losing and state winning. And some of these people are pumping millions of dollars into the program.
I know, it's crazy.
It's a wild, wild spectacle, man.
It is, like I said, man, it is a
when the book comes out, there's going to be a chapter about NC State fan. Trust me.
I need it.
I dealt with it a lot. I broke a ton of stories when I was covering state. When I was covering the whole league and the whole area and stuff, I had amazing sources.
Just make sure you have a whole chapter dedicated to the Wake County Wolfpack.
The Wake County Wolfpack, absolutely. That was a column I wrote on Fox Sports, which it's like Friedlander's The Law of the Wolf.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, I think it's very fascinating that State fan has crawled out of the hole after barely beating ECU and just loving every minute of it. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But State fan has a tendency of being very, very loud and then having to suck it up.
Yeah.
Because UVA's coming in. UVA's rolling into Carter Finley. UVA very quietly was impressive over the weekend, routing Coastal.
Yeah.
And this is a non-conference game too, by the way. UVA and State.
I started on that shit.
If UVA wins, the fire Dorn Brigade, all that glee over Monday night will now be shifted to angst toward Doran on Saturday night.
It's coming. It's coming. There's no doubt about it, man. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
It's the most predictable thing on the freaking planet.
Man. Oh, that's right. It is, man. It is. I just thought it was so hilarious because like every single phone call was about that, and they were just absolutely loving it, And again, it's like, yeah,
if they beat UVA and Carolina loses to Charlotte or barely beats them, State fans still going to be riding that high.
Oh my God, man! They injected into my vein. They were probably praying every night that happens. To be honest with you, they probably sacrifice a loss to UVA in order for if that meant Carolina went down to Charlotte loss. I think there is a section of that fan base that would do that.
They would sacrifice a season to see Belichick go 0-12.
Oh my God, yeah, they would. State could go 1-11, but they would have that if that meant Belichick went 0-12. They would absolutely take that every single day of the week, and that's what makes the rivalry so unique, right? I'll just put it that way.
The last things I'd like to say that I'm rolling through my head. I'm like, nah, can't do that.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that. It's fantastic, man.
When I do retire, and I did not retire back in the end of April, I just took a step back because I wanted this kind of. I do
find it funny that everybody thought you retired, even though you clearly said about 70 times in an article in your column and or a podcast that, guys, I'm not retiring.
I just don't want to be in that situation anymore. That's all.
You still got people coming up to you like, wait, I thought you retired.
I had 3 job offers that first day. It's pretty wild.
I'm not surprised, man. I mean,
but when I do retire, all the thoughts that just dance through my head, they're coming out.
Save it for the book, man. Save it for the book is your deadline.
Save it for the podcast.
Yeah. Save it for the podcast. Yeah, that's even better, man. Even better in my opinion. All right.
Let's go.
I gotta go. You gotta go. We got stuff to do. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones, another edition of our UNC football preview show. Appreciate y'all watching as always, man. Keep tuning into these. Keep following us. Make sure you hit subscribe. Head on over to our website again. Sign up. 1-year VIP subscription. Has to be your first time signing up. It is a fantastic deal, just $30 for the entire year, and you get Paramount Plus and Showtime, which is $12.99 a month straight up. So, I mean, when I say it is a fantastic deal, it is truly a fantastic deal. And take advantage because it ends on Thursday night. September 4th, it ends on Thursday night. So make sure you guys take advantage before time runs out. Thanks again, as always. See y'all next time. Thanks.